When I see an overachiever overachieve, that's what football's about. Because most of us who played were told by somebody you're not good enough. And they do everything in their power to tell you why you're going to fail. And if you believe them, you become one of them. They're very good recruiters.
Don't tell me to go on. I'll go on, I'm ready to go on. Why don't you take your butt out of here if you're going to be disrespectful? When you were.
For an opponent to be equal and to raise their level of play in such a fashion that they win. And that's how this thing works. That in fact you respect the opponent, and he's not the hammer, and he's not the fucking nail. Okay? He's the opponent.
All right, so when you ask me those kind of questions, it really pisses me off.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! I'm not a kid! Write something about me!
Well, I think it's ridiculous that you're even asking me that question.
Don't let that thing stand in the way! No way!
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Smacking Off podcast. I'm your host, Shannon Madden. I'm joined with my lovely co-host and producer, Mr. Doug Phillips. How are you this evening, Doug?
I'm good.
Wonderful, wonderful. We have a excellent show lined up for you. I'm tickled to death for everyone to hear this episode. We have handcrafted it with greatness. All right, before we get started, before we start digging too far into the smacking off, I want to talk about this week's upcoming games. We've got a few games picked out that kind of caught our eye, and talk about the Vegas line and where we think things are going to go. Doesn't necessarily mean that we know that we're talking about. I don't think anybody that's listening would assume that. Let's start off with the LSU-Florida game. That's at Florida. Florida's favored by 3 points in this game, Doug. How do you feel about that?
31-17, Florida.
Ouch.
LSU just, I don't know. There's something's not there. Something's not working.
Got a big turd laid right in their front yard by the Troy Trojans last weekend. That was a game. It was it was a homecoming game. It was supposed to be one of those blowout, 35-3 affairs. And LSU, and it just simply didn't turn out that way. Troy dominated the entire game and eventually edged out LSU 24-21. So, okay, fair enough. Next game, this is actually a game coming up tonight. Louisville at NC State. The line's giving Louisville 3 points. Tell me about it.
I like NC State at home.
Yeah.
It's going to be a high scoring game. 35-33, I'm going to call it. NC State wins with a late field goal.
So Lamar Jackson's not going to collect another Heisman Trophy. Is that what you're telling me?
No, it's not in cards for him this year.
How about the Oklahoma-Iowa State game? Now, the only reason we're bringing this one up, of course, is Oklahoma is in playoff contention. They're playing some pretty good ball. Vegas has got them, it's given them 28 points on this one. Now, it is a Norman. Is that a trap? Vegas going to make some money on them numbers?
It sounds like it. 28 points. Oklahoma at home.
Against Iowa State.
Oklahoma wins by 5 touchdowns. They cover.
Excellent. Okay. Moving right along. Arkansas at South Carolina. Vegas is giving South Carolina 2 points in that game. Pretty tight. Both programs are pretty much kind of in the same shape. I think that's why that line is so tight. And it's not a good shape either. It's not one of those instantly recognizable shapes.
When you got two teams that look virtually the same, go with the home team. That's my motto.
There you go.
South Carolina by a touchdown.
All right, and they cover. This is going to be a hell of a matchup right here. I expect this to be a bloodbath. Miami at FSU. Huge rivalry game, particularly for the state of Florida. The line is, and we'll be talking more about that game later on in the broadcast, line is giving Miami 3 points. Old Mark Richt has really got those boys coached up down there. It's at FSU. How do you feel about that?
I think it's going to come down to special teams. It'll go right to the last second. Miami wins by a point or two.
Excellent.
We're talking about a field goal, last possession kind of game.
Does Miami cover, or do we take FSU in the points on that one?
Man, that is tough.
That's damn near a pick 'em.
That's tough. FSU's at home. I think take FSU in the points, but Miami still squeaks it out.
All right, and keeping that good feeling about Mark Richt and Miami.
But if you feel
alive.
really good about Miami, then go ahead and give the points, because maybe the gap will be a little bit larger than that. I still think Miami wins the game.
Well, here's another one with a huge point swing. Alabama at College Station at A&M, Texas A&M. Alabama is favored. Now, the line's kind of a little all over the place, but we're figuring about 26.5 points. Does Alabama cover?
I got burned last week.
Yeah.
Saying they wouldn't cover.
They cover. I'm almost convinced that Nick Saban and his staff are reviewing this podcast now. Somebody's told him about it. Although we're still gleaning listeners daily, and because they were like, yeah, we're going to show these assholes.
Bama gets into the 50s for a third consecutive week. A&M maybe a couple touchdowns. You're looking at about 50-14. Somewhere in there.
And I'm going to go ahead and bring up one more Alabama school just because this is kind of unusual. UAB, the University of Alabama Birmingham, the Blazers, this is their first season back after being completely dismantled. Not through sanctions or anything. They just UAB shut the program down. A lot of controversy swirled about it. They took a few years off. Same football coach that actually led them to a 6-6 season, their last season out, and they had just come before he was hired. They had just come from probably the darkest place that they've been at since their move to Division 1A ball. Neil Callaway and his magic. So Bill Clark came in and actually turned the program around in 1 year. Looks like they were actually going to do something. They dismantled the program. They're back this year and actually playing some damn good football. They're hosting La Tech at UAB at Allegiant Field, the old Iron Bowl. But Vegas has given La Tech 12 points on this one. How do you feel about that?
UAB covers. Don't know if they win, but they definitely cover at home.
I'd love to see them win. I really would. That would be nice. That'd be one of those feel-good stories for the year.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Well, there are your picks for the week. If you have any questions or comments about the games we've discussed, if you've got some games you want to discuss on your own or of your own, you can always join us on the Facebook pages, Smacking Off, or join us on X's and O's for a comprehensive breakdown of each game. Or you can call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. That's 304-508-2248. And as always, fuck your team.
What did you see out of your team for this game this week? We said last week was kind of some lackluster performances. Was there anything clued you into what was going to happen?
I thought we had a good week of preparation. I thought our kids were ready to play. I think it's an accumulation effect when you have opportunities to make plays relatively early in the game and you don't. I think you lose those opportunities.
Obviously, disappointing performance. We were out-coached and outplayed tonight. That's the bottom line. And, got to keep this team together. They're hurting in there. And we got to find out why we're not making the plays we're supposed to make, whether it be alignment, whether it be the play we call it, the assignment.
Credit Washington State, what a great game they played. Electric atmosphere here tonight. Washington State's fans did a wonderful job creating a wonderful environment and a good football game. Got a bunch of hurt kids right now in that locker room. I thought both teams fought their guts out in a very close game, Pac-12 game, and we came out on the short end. It's been a while since we felt like this, and it hurts.
Losers Corner.
Just a friendly reminder, if you would like to participate in the Smacking Off podcast, we'd like to hear from you, fellow smackers. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages. You can email me at maddenShannon@toothfairy.com. Yes, that's a real email. Or you can call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. That's 304-508-2248. And as always, fuck your team.
It's up. Missed it to the right.
And we're back with our friend Ryan Jensen, who is an FSU fan. Wants to talk about the FSU-Miami game upcoming this weekend. Huge rivalry. Let's talk about it.
This is my favorite rivalry game. As a matter of fact, it doesn't get any bigger than this for me. If it wasn't for this game, I wouldn't even be a fan of football. The first time I ever watched this was 1992. The wide right, of course. We lost that one. But I was actually living in Nebraska that year, and big Cornhusker country and everything. Now, what was baffling to me about this is everybody stopped to watch this game. It's national. This is, at that time, this is the greatest thing basically to hit the world since toilet paper, to be honest. For 7 straight years, if I recall correctly, from, I think it's 8 actually, 87 to 94, whoever won the Miami versus Florida State game was basically penciled in to play for the national championship.
Yeah, that's correct.
And
right.
that alone speaks volumes on this rivalry. With the fall of Miami recently and FSU's off year this year, it's not what it used to be. But to all the Miami and Florida State fans, you know, history speaks for itself. This is the game. This is the big one for us.
Yeah, we tried to get a hurricane to come on.
No balls at all. We had several actually lined up, and, they do not have a pair swinging between their legs. Ryan, look down. Do you have a pair?
I mean, do you blame them? They lost 7 in a row. It's pretty pathetic. I mean, but since we don't have a cane, I'm not gonna talk down on them too bad. I mean, at least they can score an offensive touchdown against Florida State. That's more what I can say for Florida. I will give them that. They've been playing close games with us the last 2 years, if I recall. I think they're almost getting back close to what they used to be. I can see 10 wins for Miami this year. As you know, obviously you have the FSU game. I do believe, I'm not going to guarantee a win, but you know, history does repeat itself. But I think this is the year, even if when we do beat them, that the FSU effect stops. I think the following week they play Georgia Tech, if I'm correct. I do see the Canes losing to Florida State like they always do, but possibly beating Georgia Tech. And I honestly see them going 10-2 or 11-1, which is mainly based upon their schedule. It's not even close to being, you know, anything to brag about.
But at the same time, though, it's something that Miami fans can brag about because their team has really not had that kind of success in quite some time.
Not at all. I mean, they haven't had a winning season. I'm sorry. They haven't had a 10-win season since 2003. Now, I mean, a 14-year-old Miami fan would know nothing. I mean, they haven't had one in their lifetime, and that is sad. Honestly, that is sad. But
that's pretty sad. But the saddest thing that I've seen is the way their stadium looks at a home game when they show the stands.
I know. And what's so terrible about it is I remember the late 80s, early 90s, it was sold out. Now, I mean, you could hear a pen drop. It's sorry. It really is. I don't know. I guess they're the team I love to hate, but at the same time, I was kind of like, whoa, when they fell. To me, especially growing up in that era I grew up in, the early 90s, late 80s, they were almost like Alabama as a kid to us. I mean, They won, I think it was 4 by the time, I think 4 by 92. I could be wrong. It's just when I'm going off the top of my memory.
They won it in 83. They won it in 87, 89, and 91.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's 4.
Yeah, they won 4 by 92, and that was crazy. That's why I'm saying it's really weird to see. It's sad to see what happened to them. At the same time, I'm loving every minute of it. But I mean, it's
shocking. It's inevitable that they will be back.
I think they will. I think this year is the year that they kind of get the wheels rolling. I think they do. Maybe 10 wins. I see it happening. I mean, if they don't win 10 wins with that schedule, it's not going to happen. It's just terrible.
Yeah. Well,
I thought we lost connection. I'm sorry.
No. We're still rolling. I kind of feel this way too about, like, let's say the Alabama-Tennessee game. And it's just, I don't know. It really sucks to see that rivalry team, as bad as you hate them and as much as you want to see them lose week in and week out, kind of limp into your series, and you're expecting a blowout. I'll be quite frank with you. I'm kind of excited about, the upcoming Alabama-Auburn game. The Iron Bowl is going to actually be a really good game this year. And it also kind of stands to reason that it might be Alabama's only true test from here on out.
I believe so as well. LSU just fell off. I mean, the way they matched up against Alabama,
coached by the
I thought
worst
defense
Ole Miss coach in the modern era. I'm sorry, I can't get past that, and I can't stress that enough. Ed Orgeron was a horrible hire, and this is exactly what they paid for.
That's true. I mean, that defense looked great last year. I mean, if they can, I don't see them matching up even close. It's going to be worse than Mississippi, to be honest.
Ed Orgeron,
I mean, rivalry or not, it's going to be an embarrassment for LSU.
Losing to Mississippi State is a Ole Miss tradition with Ed Orgeron at coach. He's at LSU this year. They did the exact same thing, and they made everybody think for half a second that Mississippi State was a legitimate contender. And
biggest fluke.
Yeah.
Love it.
I mean, and look, to be fair, Mississippi State is a great team. Nick Fitzgerald's an awesome quarterback.
I believe so too. That's one thing I predicted preseason. I kind of figured they'd get around 7 wins, and it's good for them. I think they could maybe go 7-5. I said this in preseason that it might happen, it may not happen. I'm not sure, but I mean, it's a good start for them. It's a good for recruits to get the recruits that Mississippi used to get. Now, obviously, they're going to have some scholarship limitations, and Mississippi State's going to get the better end of the deal now. With that being said,
and now that Hugh Freeze isn't hogging up all the hookers, they can actually get some decent hookers
right
in Starkville to go ahead and hook them young fellas up. Okay, well, so what's your prediction for this weekend's big game, FSU Miami?
FSU Miami. Last year we had 2019. This year we're going with good defense, same as last year. 24-21 Florida State. It's going to go down to the last second. I like what I've seen from Blackman versus Wake Forest at the end of the game. I think he's starting to get his stride. There's a reason why NFL teams have 2 preseason games. That's to get the players rolling with the offense against a live team. And then the third game is action. That's a real game. And that's the same way here. He's rolling. He just got started up against North Carolina State. That was terrible. I seen good moments from him. That pass in the back of the end zone, I liked it. But that was it. And he was very limited, getting adjusted to the playbook in live action. Now, Wake Forest, kind of the same story, but at the end of the game, he was feeling more confident. You could see him stride. He was being more comfortable in the offense. And for a true freshman, that's the only hump he really had to get over. And I'm just happy that he did it. I can see us putting up 24, Miami 21. That's my prediction for this game.
How about this? How about Miami misses wide right with a field goal that would have taken it in overtime?
Another block. Wide right, another block, something like that. I can see it, because that's what this is about. I think it went back to back with a wide right for us, and then it could go back to another block this year, in Tallahassee. So you never know what's going to happen. This is, regardless of what the team's records are, how they're played against other teams. This is Florida State, Miami. This is the big one. And no matter, these teams are built to beat each other. Now, Florida State's built to beat Miami. I think we're 17-1 against in-state rivals, which is an incredible record under Jimbo Fisher.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he gets us to play for our rivalry games, and I totally respect that. I thought he was going to do almost the same thing for Alabama, but, they were just a clearly better team, and we were definitely outmatched, especially on special teams. Bama made sure that they forced turnovers, and then they made sure that they took advantage of every turnover that they had. Florida State didn't take advantage of what was given to them, and therefore it looked like a blowout on paper. But if you watch the game, it was a lot better than the score indicated.
Absolutely.
It was. Now, and how much of that do you think was just FSU's heart getting ripped out of their chest when Frenchie went down?
For me personally, it was when I seen it, I was like, okay, this kid is tough as nails. You know what? He's going to be okay. We've been in this situation like 8 times last year. I thought he was going to be all right, you know? And then when I heard Derwin James say, yeah, stuff like this is tough, I'm like, oh, shit, he knows something that we don't know. And he said that after the game, and I was like, okay, this isn't the same song and dance. Something else is going on here. And it really didn't hit me until after Derwin James said that it hit me hard. Also, Alabama lost a middle linebacker. Another thing for their fan base, after that game, I seen nothing on Facebook and Twitter but prayers for Frenchie, my thoughts with Frenchie. Just true sportsmanship. That's why I really respect Alabama fans. You know, there's no.
Now, trust me, you wouldn't have seen that if the game was like 23-21 or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's tough when you lose your quarterback like that, and with a true freshman into the game against North Carolina State, you never know what you're gonna get, and we really felt that we had a national championship season this year. You know, that was the feeling going into this season. We had a great defense. You've seen that against Alabama. We had a great defense. And I think the moment Frenchie went down, that did rip the heart and soul out of this team. You know, a feeling of disbelief came over a little bit. The defense wasn't playing like they used to. Hell, we couldn't even tackle, honestly, against North Carolina State. We looked tacky as hell, you know, and it's just the disbelief, I think, was what's really got to us. But
I got to ask you this question, though, the burning question. When the Clemson-NC State game comes to town, who you pulling for?
When the Clemson-NC State game comes to town?
Yeah. When it comes up later in the season, when you're sitting in front of the TV, who are you pulling for?
I got to pull, because I think I think Clemson needs somebody to beat them. I don't know. We can beat them, but we need somebody else to beat them. I think they're already looking at NC State. They could be. I mean, NC State, I don't know. I mean, I like the way their offense is set up, but that Clemson defense, that Clemson line is just incredible. That defensive front is insane.
Yeah, absolutely sick. Sickness upon sickness. It's nasty, dead nasty.
Exactly, and that's why I was another preseason when people were saying Clemson was going to lose 4 games. I was like, you are out your damn mind. There is no way that this team does not finish 10-2, 11-2, 11-1. But right now, I think we're looking at 11-1 and 12-0. I mean, it would probably be best for them to lose that one game because, as we all know, I don't believe any team has won the playoff undefeated. And that extra game, as you can see, it did a number on Bama last year. They were 14-0, played that final game against Clemson, and Clemson came out with more heart. You know, they learned from their loss. They reevaluated the situation and came out with the win.
Yep, absolutely. They did exactly what Nick Saban would have done in that situation.
Oh, most certainly.
All right,
most
man.
Certainly. That's what.
Well, we're going to we're going to wrap it up here. Man, we really appreciate having you on, and
it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Definitely. And when we get some key FSU matchups coming up, we want to bring you back on.
Sounds like a plan. Yeah, holler at me for Clemson and Florida. Sounds good.
Play of the week.
He put the brakes on, and then he accelerated from 0 to 60 like in a second. Watch this. Brakes on, and here I go. Now you see me, now you don't. And the first guy very, very rarely ever brings him down.
T. Scales, that's an All-American linebacker, number 8. At Iowa, he did it to Josie Jewell.
Then you go for it here. Look, watch Troy. They're guarding the sideline. Sidelines, you want them to catch this ball in bounds.
Etling chase, time running off, hit. Got rid of it, it's intercepted. And Troy is going to win the football game. Bryce Brown.
I am joined with our next smacker. He is the prominence, the glorious, from SEC Smack, Lee H. Bradley.
Known as LeeBoo.
LeeBoo. And
there's only one.
And a few other names. Jarita?
Yes, very true.
Jarita Laundry?
Yes, Jarita. I tell you, she's sleeping right now. She's just coming from a drunk night from the night out, so I don't think you'll hear much from her tonight.
Yeah, I'm sure she's probably still drunk from the LSU Troy game.
No, yeah, well, I don't know. She's a Tuscaloosa fan, so I don't think too much what's going on.
She's been drinking to celebrate then.
She's actually in bed with her uncle right now.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. Don't knock it till you try it.
She'll tell you the same. He's hung like a horse is all I hear from her.
And Lee, of course, is a LSU fan.
And alumni.
And alumni, Mr. Fancy Pants.
In 1993.
Oh, telling your age a little bit.
Oh, I'm very old, but that's okay.
1993, yeah, that was a pretty good year for not a great year for LSU, but
let me tell you.
They beat Bama on the road.
Tell you, I was in school. I didn't do traditional 4 years. I did work when I was in school, in college, and sometimes I went part-time, so I didn't finish in exactly 4 years, but I was there through the 7 years of a horrible experience of games, and I never missed a game. I was in Tiger Stadium from the time when I was in Baton Rouge. I lived near campus. It was like I lived on Holland Road, which is walking distance to the campus, and I never ever missed one game. I had season tickets, even though I was a student. I sat 30-yard line on the east side, and then out of the years of college, I went to every single game, home and away, for 1 year. 1 year exactly. So it was it was fun. It was great, but unfortunately, we just didn't have a good time. Getting a lot of wins at the time.
You were there for Curly Hallman.
Curly.
Curly, and maybe did you go? Your last year was 93?
Yeah.
Okay.
I graduated in the summer of 93.
Okay. So there was another coach there beforehand. I'm thinking it was Mike.
No, he's before. It's the guy from Vanderbilt.
Jerry DiNardo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, I remember. Y'all are taking me back.
I wanted to forget his name.
He was after, though, wasn't he? He was after Curly Hallman.
Yes, he was. Okay. Curly was like in the beginning.
Mike Archer was before Curly.
Yeah, Mike Archer. Yes, and I went to a lot of games when Mike Archer was the coach.
He started out like a ball of fire, Mike Archer, and just kind of fizzled out from there. But
yeah, he did. I liked him a lot. I really did.
Well,
but unfortunately, my years of school was just we didn't have a good coach. We didn't have good teams. It just didn't go well for me. So, and then I'll never forget, I graduated and then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and I'll never forget watching that game. What changed our lives was the LSU-Florida game. And that was during Florida's heyday when they came back. They won national championships and all that stuff. And we won that game in Tiger Stadium. And that really, I think started it for us as to getting better.
Are you... DiNardo was the coach.
No, that was Saban.
Oh yeah.
Oh, the magic years.
Yeah, it was the beginning. Yep.
Yeah.
And one thing I want to get out, and I hear this so much. I never disliked him. And it's like everyone always says, "Well, how could you not?" He did a lot for us, and he did. I mean, he brought our program back. There's no denying that. And I'll never take that away from him, and the funny thing is he left us to go pro, and he failed at that, and then, he decided to go to another SEC school. Now, granted, if he had went to Florida or whoever else, there would still be a lot of regret for us because he didn't choose to come back to us. But he went to Tuscaloosa, which, of course, is just a big rival for us anyway, so it just didn't help. It just kind of made more salt in the wound for us.
I'm not sure he could have come back because Miles was doing a pretty good job of filling his shoes pretty early on. I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, how would he?
Yeah, he
back?
did. Miles, but what I didn't like was every time Miles did well, of course, the Tuscaloosa fans would be, oh well, it's Saban's recruits. It's his recruits. He won the game, and no one could do anything right. It's like. Everything that was said, everything that was done well, it was off of his recruiting. And it just got really old. And then finally, after a while when all these recruits died down, it was Miles recruits that kind of shut these Alabama fans up about Les Miles.
Right.
And I tell you, Les Miles was doing very well. He had a lot of great wins, and anyone that's competition to beating Alabama fans, they're going to hate the team, because that's just that fan base, you just don't want to get me started. But, they hated LSU because we sporadically beat them, Yes, they have if you take a 10-year span, they still beat us overall. And the overall record, they have beaten us. I'm aware of that. But we were the ones that beat them at home. Les Miles had tricks up his sleeves and all this stuff. So, they really were afraid of us. And some would even say in the beginning of the season on Smack how, LSU's the team that I'm more worried about than anyone else. And they were. Mm-hmm. But
absolutely. And, you're talking to two Alabama fans. And, to be quite frank, I enjoyed that era. That rivalry between LSU and Alabama, it actually became a lot more fevered.
More than Auburn. Y'all hated
absolutely.
There's no question. Because Auburn was Miles, down anyway.
Saban and Miles, that was headline. That was
Ali
Frazier.
Forget Auburn, it's LSU.
But it was the rematch. It was after the rematch that the series went downhill.
Right, that's what I was going to say. We beat y'all at Tuscaloosa, and then the dumbest thing they could have ever done, and of course I say it now with the score being what it was, 21-0. We never came over the half score.
50-yard line.
It's just
50-yard line. Yeah, that was
the yard line.
That was the joke of the day.
Right, and it's like 21-0. We beat y'all, then y'all got revenge of us in New Orleans, and that just, they always say that was what just let us down from there,
Mm-hmm.
And it just, I really believe that, But I'll tell you something that'll make an Alabama fan mad. I don't care. LSU has the most national championships in all sports combined. Now, of course, the first thing that's going to come out of their mind is, man, football's the only thing that matters.
Hey, football's the only thing that matters, man.
See, but I'm saying we own every school in the SEC, like it or not. We own you. We own you. Just like y'all like to say y'all own this and that. But actually, in reality, LSU has the most national championships in all sports combined. And obviously, all sports matter in SEC or for the university. And they wouldn't have them, whether it's badminton or, duck shooting and all this other stuff.
I can see now why we had a problem getting we were trying to get another smacker to come on and go head to head with you, and we couldn't get anybody that would agree to it. Now I'm seeing why, because you would have kicked our ass.
LSU's under that ass. They knew. They read the stats.
Are you on SEC Smack?
Oh, absolutely. We're all up in SEC Smack.
Yeah,
that is a wonderful page, and
you know who I am, right?
Oh yes.
I'm just curious. A lot of them make fun of me on Smack because I'm gay. And they think, oh, well, it's LeeBoo. But I'll put half these people on the table, because they know. A lot of them people don't know because I don't play.
Well, most of your weak-ass smackers, the first thing they're going to say is, oh, you're a faggot, blah, blah, this and this, that, and the other. To straight guys. So when you're actually going up against somebody who identifies as gay, it's like, oh, shit, I can't use that. Well, so people are actually forced to engage and actually use their brain to engage with you. Watching your threads and some of the videos you posted since I've been on the page, it's been absolutely hilarious. And for everybody listening,
I got that from my daddy. My daddy was a funny guy. And I tell you, when I'm at work, I just got to lower it down at work because, in the year 2017, there's so many things you can say.
Guilty.
And you can't say, And, when I'm at work, I'm a different person. But I was telling someone today that's in Smack that I am the same person in real life that is on this page. And I know a lot of people can't relate to that. A lot of people escape into, as they call the keyboard warriors or whatever. I am very sarcastic. I swear to God, you could take 5 people that I work with and ask them if I'm sarcastic. They will tell you I am. And I am.
This is sad but weak. El estado de la semana.
Smacking Off invites you to join us on the podcast. If you have an opinion on an upcoming game, some commentary on your conference, or want to roll with one of your fellow smackers on air, hit us up. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages, email me at maddenshannon@toothfairy.com, or call us on the Smack Line, 304-508-BAIT. And as always, fuck your team.
Some people can't take me. I was saying that today. I mean, my humor, I tell you, I did a video of Jorita Dorita in her panties. I was in my kitchen. I'm having my kitchen remodeled. And
that was a wonderful video, by the way. I enjoyed that personally.
Yeah, look, it's like I'm like, the original got lost on my video, so I had to do another one because everyone has a birthday. I'll post it as their birthday, and I never say their name, so you could always use it every time. And it's like, I'll say, the thing is like, you have a birthday. I've been rehearsing this song. I don't know how long it's gonna take. It may take a while. Bottom line, the song is, "It's your birthday." What does it go? It's like, "This is your birthday song. It isn't very long," and that's it. And I act like it's gonna be a long song, but it's really not. And I cut it off right at the end. But I'm in my white underdrawers with this dress, and I'm wearing a bra. And I've got on this black wig. And the funny thing is, Shannon and Douglas, I had this wig wrapped up in this drawer, and it was wrapped in. Originally what I did was I had two ponytails to make it look like a porn star. When I did other videos, it would look like she's a porn star or whatever. Well, I took the rubber bands out, and the hair just went crazy, and I loved it because it looks like she just got out of bed with 12 men. It's just so funny. But back to what I'm getting at, I know you can't.
What kind of porn are you watching? First off,
porn.
Let's start talking about your porn collection, Lee. Let's.
No, I like gay porn. I don't like gay porn. But listen, so I'm in the back. I'm on the kitchen floor, and I've got my iPhone down on a chair, or my iPad, and it's like right at my crotch. And that was my idea. And originally I was going to get part of my wig and glue it to my underpants to look like it's my black Gucci, but I never got around to doing it. But a lot of people, the response on that video, they didn't like it because it had me in my underwear, So I don't know. I haven't posted it since, but some people didn't like it.
Oh, I'm digging it. I'm digging it up, and I'm giving it a bump tonight. Definitely. That's awesome.
Maybe if anyone hears this and hasn't seen it, they're probably thinking, "My God, this guy's in a dress with a bra on with this
run a clip on
in his underdrawers. What is that?" But that's LeeBoo, which is Jorita Dorita Lander. Anyway.
And speaking of videos, though, because I've got to bring this up, and we've actually approached him and are going to bring him on in the future. The video you did of Russ Mostert.
Russ, yeah.
Oh, Russy.
Well, I got to tell you, that video went better than I thought. In fact, that video went over 1,000 posts or whatever, and it made a big mark with the posting. And I got to tell you a funny story. The way my mind works is I never know what I'm going to do when I do a video. I write things down, but I'm never sure. And I'll be honest with you, until I turn on that fucking video and I start talking, it never is the same thing that I was going to do. Now, granted, I knew I was going to I set up the underwear with the dirty drawers, and I taped it up in a box because ironically that day I got a package in the mail, and it was a small package. So when I did that whole thing, I didn't know what I was going to say. I knew the stuff that I was going to do, obviously the text and stuff. I knew, what it was about, but I didn't rehearse it or anything. And it came out pretty decent. A lot of people really liked it. What did you think?
Oh, I thought it was fucking hilarious.
I
cried on that one. I really did. I was in tears. It was hilarious.
Yeah, a lot of people liked it. No one was offended by that one. And I'll be honest with you. Sometimes I'll look at my videos, and I've told this to other people. I don't think it's funny or good enough. And I really didn't know if this one was going to fly. And I was surprised by how popular it was. I really was.
Now I've got to ask, just in all fairness.
Ask me anything you want.
In all fairness, can we get you back for the LSU Alabama game and you and Russ go head to head?
Yeah,
on
that's
air?
Fine. No problem.
Oh, that's going to be epic. Oh, yes. Yes.
Can you get Russ on there? Is he going to do it?
I think he'll do it. We've actually reached out to Russ.
I like Russ.
If Russ is listening to the broadcast, which hopefully he is, we send him a link.
Well, hello, Miss Russ, if you're listening.
Russ, you have been invited on our show to sit with Mr. Lee Bradley and defend your honor. I don't think it's happening.
I would love it. Who knows? I was thinking maybe after this doesn't go well, you'll never have me back on again.
Oh, no, hardly. Lee, but what we do have to run in a moment, but I want to get your prediction for the big game this weekend against the Florida Gators.
Okay. Well, I was going to say, looking at our schedule, we've got a fucking it's brutal. Florida, Auburn, Ole Miss, Tuscaloosa, Arkansas, and those games we definitely can lose to. And I tell you, the only thing I say.
Now you didn't. Whoa! You didn't include Tennessee among that list.
I didn't because I know we're going to win. We're going to beat Tennessee.
I love
that game, isn't it? Yep.
Yes.
We're going to beat Tennessee.
At home. Disrespect.
No, it's at Tennessee.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be at Tennessee's home.
But here's the deal. Here's the only thing I'm going to tell you about what I feel a little good about. We just got our ass embarrassed in Tiger Stadium by a good team, a good team. And Florida, they haven't impressed me 100%. There's a possibility that LSU just might get their ass right and get their ass together, and it might be a close game. Who knows? Florida might win at the very end, which I was hoping for with Troy, that we would do. But it's either going to go two ways. Florida's going to slaughter us, or it's going to be a head-to-head match. That's the best thing I can give you.
Fair enough. Well, everybody.
Do you agree? I agree.
I really.
I think LSU's got a good shot to win because Florida really, they look like a bunch of monkeys fucking a football that somehow it bounces the right way.
Yeah.
Right.
We call that the Johnny Manziel effect.
Yeah.
Well, here's the question for y'all. How long do y'all think y'all going to have Saban? I mean, you've been very lucky to have a great coach, and he is a good coach. He proved himself at LSU, and is obviously proving himself with y'all minus Clemson. But, what do you think?
He's contracted through 2025, but I'm pretty sure that was for recruiting purposes. I think I don't know. I think it'll come from nowhere when he quits.
And again, I think if he continues to win and he continues to have the rate of success that he's got, and everybody's continuing to buy into the program, that he'll fulfill that contract and maybe even do a year or two more. I really, it's hard for me to see past 5 years though with.
But I'll be honest with you, this job, regardless if you're a coach for Troy, LSU, whatever, is a stressful job. I mean, it's politics. It's all about. It's kind of like what I say. I go to the gym 6 days a week, right? You're only as good as your last workout. You're only as good as your last win.
That's right.
And don't you agree?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Ask Mark Rick that sometime.
Yeah.
Right. And I really, I just think, with him, he's kind of like good to leave on a good note. I just can't believe y'all put a statue of this guy already at your campus.
I had nothing to do with that.
That's stupid.
You're talking about the one.
Sorry.
Are you talking about the one in front of Bryant Saban Stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah. Bryant Saban Stadium. Yeah.
Can you imagine if we put Les Miles out there when he was doing so well? I mean, I'm not gonna say that's gonna happen with y'all because it's not. But I just think it's kind of silly to put a statue of a current coach out there in bronze. That's my opinion.
Once you get past,
who's listening to me?
I think if you get 3 or above national championships, it's
4 national championships in 7 years is a lot to.
Yeah, that's statue worthy. That's statue worthy.
All right, well, we'll take it with that. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed me.
We most certainly did, and we are definitely going to have you back for LSU Alabama. We've called out Russ Mostert, so let's hope Russie has some big old balls he's going to show us.
Well, Douglas, did you see the video?
I did not. I'm going to get. Is it still floating around?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we're going to pull it up and crack up over it here in a minute. And I encourage everybody that's listening to go check out the SMAC group, SEC SMAC. A lovely, wonderful bunch of folks, and we're actually going to have a few of their more prominent members on upcoming shows. So
more prominent than me? Is that what you're saying?
No. Equally as prominent.
Oh, okay. Well, I've enjoyed chatting with y'all. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you so much, Lee. Take care.
short of it. Fourth down. Edling is under center at the 1-yard line. Edling takes the snap, tosses to Geis. Geis trying to lead over the top.
Just a friendly reminder, if you would like to participate in the Smacking Off podcast, we'd like to hear from you, fellow smackers. You can message us at the Smacking Off or X's and O's Facebook pages. You can email me at maddenShannon@toothfairy.com. Yes, that's a real email. Or you can call us on the Smack line, 304-508-BAIT. That's 304-508-2248. And as always, fuck your team.
Get it out. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play of the game. Unbelievable.
And we're back here on the Smacking Off podcast. We are joined with a dear friend of our show, Mr. Sean Vergowven, who wants to talk about the Notre Dame Michigan State game. Go ahead. No, he doesn't want to talk about that game.
So I was there. I was in the stadium, and that game was brutal to watch. I mean, 3 turnovers led to 21 points. The score is not indicative of how they played. And in reality, I mean, what I saw in the stadium 2 weeks ago from Michigan State is vastly different than what I saw from the Michigan State team last year. I mean, yes, it was a garbage touchdown. It was, 7 points in the fourth quarter after a blowout, but that team was still trying. They were still playing their hearts out. And that's something we didn't see last year. Last year, we straight up saw them. I mean, they quit. They just straight up legitimately quit. And we didn't see that this year. I credit that to the senior leadership, and I credit that to addition by subtraction, if you will.
Well, and that also brings us up to our matchup this weekend, big rivalry game, Michigan and Michigan State. Let's talk about that one.
Yes, sir. As you know, this is, it holds a dear place in my heart, this game, because as grown up in Michigan, going to Michigan State, we deal with the Michigan fans a lot. And there's all kinds of insults on both sides of the aisle that we get. The infamous little brother quote. You've got the Walmart Wolverine retort. You've got all that stuff.
I like that Walmart Wolverine.
Oh yeah. That's a classic one from our side. Is the Walmart Wolverine. Since 109,000 people fit in their stadium, we know 109,000 alumni aren't there. The biggest Michigan fans are the ones that never went. And then we get the you only went to Michigan State because you couldn't get into Michigan type thing. So the rivalry for us isn't like an Auburn, Alabama, or even a Michigan, Ohio State rivalry.
You said that wrong.
I mean, this is a
whoa, back up. You said that wrong. It's Alabama, Auburn. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. An Alabama-Auburn rivalry. Yeah, it isn't like it's 1 week a year. I mean, this is legitimately a every week, every day type of occurrence. And because we live and work with these people on both sides, I mean, this is for bragging rights for the entire year. And so when you get that kind of energy involved, anything happens. Like my freshman year was 2001. It was the clock gate, if you will. Jeff Smoker hits T.J. Duckett in the back of the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, the stadium just erupted. And it was awesome. But that is a rivalry that, it is, and I will freely admit it is much bigger to Michigan State than it is to Michigan.
And primarily because Michigan does lead that series 70-35 with 5 ties.
Well, 69. Yes. Now, since you brought up the overall record, I'm going to bring up some of our common comebacks on the overall record.
Let's do it.
Michigan does lead the series 69-34. However, for 35 years, we played in Ann Arbor straight. There was no games to East Lansing. So actually, Michigan State has won more than their home games. So we didn't actually start going home and home until right around the 50s. We had Biggie Munn and Duffy Doherty, winning multiple national championships at Michigan State. That's when we really started going home and home. Before that, it was all in Ann Arbor. There was Michigan traveled to East Lansing, I think 4 times before that. So that is yes, they do lead the overall record. For the Paul Bunyan Trophy, though, it is a much closer record. I don't have the exact numbers, but it's only a 6-game spread for the Paul Bunyan Trophy.
Yeah, I'm pulling that up right now. I'm actually kind of going down the history as we speak. The Paul Bunyan Trophy, the record is 36-26 with 2 ties. Michigan.
Okay, so
that one. Yes.
Like I said, the Paul Bunyan Trophy, it's a lot closer, but that's because Michigan State was finally a Division I school at that point. Before 1951, I believe, Michigan State was essentially a Division II school. They were like Appalachian State. We were not a Division I big blue blood school.
They actually started just an agricultural school that, and their very first game that the two played, Michigan beat them so badly that in the several games afterwards, because again, they were definitely not in the same division or class at all. And Michigan actually fielded their freshmen in the ensuing 2 or 3 games that they played against Michigan State, which was actually the Michigan Aggies at that time.
Yep. The first games were, they were, I think the record still stands Michigan won 119-0, something like that. The first games between Michigan State and Michigan were, they were absolutely brutal. It was legitimately a college team playing like a high school team. We were just starting out. We were Division II. We were not in the conversation for any of these, recruiting wasn't a thing, it isn't like it is today. It was people that went to the college that wanted to play football. And then, as we got further on, recruiting obviously became a much bigger entity than it today. But when you're an agricultural school, you got a bunch of farm boys, but that's about it. We just didn't have the level of athlete that they did at Michigan.
Yeah, especially the game that you referenced was the 1902 game in which Michigan scored 119 points to 0. Now, on Michigan, to be fair, that Michigan team that year finished 11-0.
That was the point-a-minute team. Good.
I know you've heard of the Georgia Tech Cumberland University game.
Where what was it? Georgia Tech scored on themselves multiple times.
It was 222-0.
Because Georgia Tech was protesting, or Cumberland was protesting, or something.
Yeah.
Something regarding the athletic department.
Mm-hmm. Oh, really? I haven't actually read the narrative of the game. I just keep seeing the score from time to time. Somebody will throw it in the middle of the thread.
Yeah, I think they were protesting something about the athletic department at the time. And so they just kind of, for lack of a better word, just kept letting them score.
Just stepped aside and said, hey, there's the end zone right there?
Yeah, pretty much. And then, they'd fumble the ball over to them, and they'd go again.
We refer to that in 2017 as the Jay Cutler. Okay, well, real quick, give us your prediction on this weekend's matchups final score.
Let's see. Prediction. So I've posted this prediction multiple times, and I'm sticking by it. 17-15, Michigan State. I predict this to be a very, very low-scoring affair. Yes, Michigan has the number 1 defense in the country, and they've played. You look, and Michigan has had some. They haven't looked outstanding on offense. To be perfectly honest, they didn't even look good on offense. That defense is holding them in these games. That defense is killer. That front, at a minimum, the front 4 is an unbelievable front 4. They can do everything without even blitzing. And then you add in that linebacker core and Don Brown. It is a Michigan defense that it can easily do what it needs to be done. Now the question becomes is, can Michigan put up any points?
That's it.
I'm not confident that they can. Because Michigan State is also fielding a very good defense this year.
Yeah, Michigan's definitely beatable.
Oh yeah, no, they're very beatable. The question becomes is, will they be able to put up points? And the thing that is in their favor is they have that kid Quinn Norton. He was the number 1 kicker, I think, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The kid's hit multiple 50-yard field goals already. I mean, I predict this to be very much a kicker's duel. And Michigan State gets lucky with a Felton Davis grab over a young secondary for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to come down to Quinn Norton and his leg, and if he can hit multiple field goals throughout the game, I think that's going to keep Michigan in it. Whoever doesn't have turnovers is going to win the game.
Definitely. I'm definitely pulling for Michigan State. I would like to get Michigan on out of the top 10 because they definitely belong out of the top 10.
Oh, easily. Like their quarterback situation is rough. I've very much of the conclusion that Spite has dirt on Harbaugh. Because anybody who watched week 1 against Florida, Wilton Spite was awful.
Mm-hmm.
And he hasn't gotten any better. It wasn't until he got hurt against Purdue when John O'Korn came in that they actually looked like a competent offense.
Right.
So the question that everybody has is, why hasn't he been playing the entire time? To be perfectly honest, they're lucky to be 4-0.
Oh, definitely.
Because you have John O'Korn that transferred from Houston. He got beat out by Spite last year. And then you have Brandon Peters, who's a redshirt freshman for him, and you have Dylan McCaffrey, Christian McCaffrey's brother, who's a true freshman for him.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them are better quarterbacks than Wilton Spite. So what does Wilton have on Harbaugh that lets him be that starting quarterback? Because he makes awful decisions. He can't move in the pocket.
Maybe
Their
he was
offensive
one of those,
line is atrocious.
Maybe he was one of the kids
they're giving
that.
up 3 sacks a game and 8 tackles for loss.
Yeah, maybe he was one of those kids Harbaugh had a sleepover with.
That was actually the kicker.
I mean, we don't know who
he had the sleepover with.
Harbaugh had sleepovers with or didn't have sleepovers with. I mean, we don't want to get into that kind of broadcast. We're not talking about Penn State here.
I'm like, I can send you the articles. There's multiple articles about it. I mean, and that's one of the things is being a Michigan State fan and growing up in Michigan. It is impossible to get away from Michigan. It is impossible to ignore what they do just because it dominates the media. It dominates the talk. I mean, when we went to the Rose Bowl in 2013, we were coming off a 6-7 or 7-6 season in 2012, where we had the number 1 defense in the country the entire season, but we had an atrocious offense. Sound familiar? So we were coming off a brutal season where we lost, we lost 6 games by 13 points total, 6 games by 13 points. And so we were unranked for the first 8 weeks of the 2013 season. It wasn't until we started beating people, like the Michigans, like the, Wisconsins. It wasn't until we started beating them that we started to get noticed in the ranking.
The takeaway from this is that this is going to be a tight game. A lot of defense, very little offense. Michigan State comes away with a win.
That's my hope. It really is too close to call. Right now, I think the latest projections I saw had the spread at 10.5. 10.5 Michigan.
I've seen it as high as 13. Of course, that may have been the early point.
Yep.
I'm sure that will move up and down as the week progresses.
Here's the thing. D'Antonio is 10-0 against Michigan versus the spread. He's only lost 3 games to him, but he's always beaten the spread. So it's safe to take Michigan State against the spread versus Michigan.
You heard it here first, y'all. You want to make some money? Take them Spartans. Hey, Sean, we really appreciate you having you on, and we will be back because if Michigan State this huge upset, you get your redemption.
I'm hoping.
Each week, Smacking Off presents our Life Championship. This week's Life Championship brought to you by Bad Month Tires. You don't have the swag for Goodyear, so aim for the middle with Bad Month Tires, the most economical tire money can buy.
The Life Championship.
Top 10 for October 10.
10.
Michigan.
9.
Maryland.
8.
Texas A&M.
7.
Oklahoma State.
6.
Texas.
5.
USC.
4.
Oregon.
3.
Florida State.
2.
Louisville.
1.
Florida.
Incomplete, no intercepted. Swiped by Dorian O'Daniel, who's going to take it back. Bobbled by Henry Murphy, and the linebacker was right there to pick it out of the air and take it to the end zone.
And we're joined with our dear friend David Shane Hunter. He's coming back. Clemson's coming off of a big win last week, and he's ready to rub his hands and talk some shit about Clemson. Let's do it, baby. Clemson is in the top 4. They're currently ranked number 2, right behind the Alabama Crimson Tide.
5-0.
Just a quick question, right out of the box. Do you see this being a three-peat? Do you see that Alabama and Clemson slugging it out in the national title game once again?
It's looking that way. I mean, I'm trying to be as objective about as I can. It's just when you see these two teams, when you see the players on the field, no other team looks like them. I mean, Clemson basically has their D linemen look like NFL players. You know what I mean? Then we know what, Alabama has and all that. But the other teams is just, you honestly think outside of Clemson, Alabama, there's any team that could really challenge them?
Yeah, it really seems like both Clemson and Alabama are playing at a completely just different level. Two other teams that I personally have got my eye on as possibly being able to run out, and that's Oklahoma and Penn State. And, of course,
I like them. I like Georgia, and I like Washington.
Washington's looking really good, too. Peterson's got them coached up, and they're winning by large margins, too, which is pretty much, I guess, the new norm in 2017 to get into the playoffs. Doug, what's your take?
Georgia, I like Georgia, too. They've got a harder path than Clemson. Clemson, Penn State, and Oklahoma. They've got a harder path. Unless they run the table and get into the SEC championship game and lose to Alabama, I guess there would be a possibility of Georgia and Alabama getting into the playoff.
Wouldn't that be crazy?
Well, the problem is there's 3 to 16, ranked 3 through 6, and I'm not going to completely count out Wisconsin, TCU, or Michigan, but 3 through 16 teams, they're vying for 2 spots.
I'm counting out. I'm going to go ahead and count out Michigan.
I am too. They got
with you.
really nice.
I think we're all in agreement on that.
I was higher on Michigan before they played, but now that they go ahead.
But I'm not seeing. I just don't see what all those teams from basically 3 maybe all the way up to rank 10th. I don't see with all those teams. I don't see 2 from one conference. It's going to be hard enough just to get 4 of the conferences in. Obviously there's 5, but I think there's going to be a conference left out that's going to have a pretty good team, and it's probably either going to be the Pac-12 or the Big Ten. It's kind of looking like, seeing how they're kind of going to knock each other off. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. When it comes to watching these two teams play, Clemson played conservative in the fourth quarter against a team like Virginia Tech. It's pretty good. And, it's crazy when you can play conservative ball like that and be a really good football team.
I'm really shocked by Clemson. I know you're not because you're a Clemson fan and you expected good things.
Well, hold on. I always give a fair assessment of the things,
I really thought they were going to have a harder time dealing with the loss of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, because Watson right now is tearing it up in the NFL and is proving to everybody that he is indeed that superhuman Cam Newton type college quarterback that actually has that career in college and transfers that over to NFL, which you don't see a lot of these days with your number one draft picks for quarterbacks, Johnny Manziel. I was just saying Johnny Manziel as well. That's another excellent, illustration of what I'm talking about.
But the thing is, and I said this before the season, is that I was looking at the fact of all the returning stars on the offensive line. I'm looking at, the talent that was around Kelly Bryant. And I said, if Kelly Bryant doesn't choke, we could get back to playoffs because our defense was going to be that good, and that's just what's coming forward. It's because I follow the team. I know more about it than the average fan does. They're like, oh, Clemson, they ain't been nothing traditionally. They're just one-hit wonders, and that's really not that it's not true, but you had to see how the program was starting to build, and what Dabo had been doing to see that even look at the losses on defense over the last few years, and then you see the defense still good. It's your recruiting. It's your coaching staff. It's understanding what your team has to know, oh, they're going to be good. I mean, it's, they're not Alabama when it comes to recruiting. They didn't get the, number one classes all the time, but you can still see that if you follow the team, you can see the guys. And even next year, this team is going to still be pretty good, even next year.
Yep.
Now, I don't know if it'll die down, but for now, we're here to stay.
I'm impressed with what Dabo's done at Clemson. I'm very surprised that they've done as well as they have this year, replacing Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, there's been no drop off at all. I mean, again, there's not any huge.
It looks
explosive,
like the same team.
Yeah, it's not even huge explosive plays. Well, no, you really can't say that. Clemson's definitely provided a lot of highlight reel moments. In a year that, quite frankly, a lot of people had figured they would be a, good. I'm not necessarily middle of the road, probably down
9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, down toward the bottom of the top 10 at the end of the season. Top 15 somewhere in that neighborhood. And I mean, there is no drop off at all, and that defense looks sick.
Bar the ACC championship game, they've really passed their biggest hurdles already, except unless we want to keep a spot open for Florida State to actually have a resurgence this year.
Well, they have Wake Forest coming up this weekend, and I know you wanted to weigh in on that game.
Yeah, it's I don't know how well their quarterback, if y'all remember in that game, he got that stinger on his shoulder. So
yes.
I believe it was on his non-throwing shoulder, but it's still, you can feel it when you're.
No, it's going to affect his play.
So, I mean, you could tell the difference. Once he got that stinger, he was not the same quarterback against Florida State. Had he not gotten that, I think Wake Forest would have won. I mean, Wake Forest returned, I believe, 16, 17 starters off a 7-6 win season, so I knew they were going to be better this year. And, if we go in there and try to play around with them, I mean, they do have the capability of beating us. I don't think that'd be the case. I don't think Dabo's going to approach this game where he just comes out and starts doing conservative like play call, and I think he's going to come in and treat it as okay. We got to open our playbook and play to win this game. If not, it will be an upset.
Excellent. Well, David, we really appreciate it. We're going to head to our next segment. And as always, thanks for coming on this.
One second. Podcast. Let's go ahead and get a prediction on the.
Absolutely. Gosh, man, I'm telling you, it's been that kind of day today. Give us a prediction for this weekend's game.
Prediction for this weekend, I will say 31-13.
All right. Looking forward to the rest of the year, and we'll get you back on definitely next big Clemson game.
All right. Thank you very much. Y'all have a good one.
Smack.